Hey there everybody and welcome back to another tutorial. In this one I'm going to show you how to make data sets for NeRF so that you can use InstantNGP with your own pictures, with your own data sets. So what is it that I'm talking about? Well, if we launch InstantNGP, you're going to see this UI that doesn't necessarily do anything until we throw some data at it. So here is a custom data set I made. It's not necessarily obvious how to make this. So you can see it's a bunch of images and this transforms.json, JSON. You don't necessarily know how I made this, but I click this, I drag it, and you can see it's starting to work on the NeRF, and it really is just kind of like a small hallway scene in this case. So the question is, how did I create this? And I will show you how to do that in this video. And I'll try to keep it very simple. So basically, I need you to have three things ready for this tutorial. One, I need you to have a sample video. So this is the video that I took at my girlfriend's house, didn't even film it at my own. Have a video ready. You can kind of orbit an object, go outside, do whatever. You probably should go outside, it's good for you. Take a video, that's step one. Step two, I want you to make sure that Python is installed, and you'll know it's installed, and there's tutorials for this. You'll know it's installed if you go to, command prompt and you type in Python, and it tells you the version number. So I have 3.7.9. You can get a newer, an older version, whatever. So make sure you have Python installed, and we want to make sure that once you have Python installed, you have certain libraries installed. So you just run these three commands if you haven't already. So pip install, in other words, Python install. The first one is ffmpeg. There's a good chance you have this installed. Just run this. Mine is already installed, so I'm going to get this message. If yours is not installed, you're going to get a whole bunch of code. Next, I want you to install OpenCV. If you haven't already, I already have a version of it, so that's fine. And then finally, pip install callmap. And this one's very important for making NeRFs. And again, I have this one. So again, for each one of these, it's going to install a bunch of stuff. So make sure you have Python, make sure you have this, make sure you have your video, and finally, step three, make sure you have the script. This is called callmap, color map to NeRF. The way you get this is you just type online. So literally I type in callmap to NeRF, go to the GitHub, see a bunch of nonsense, click here, and here is the thing. To actually look at it, we can go to the raw file and then save as callmap to NeRF as a Python file, and you can save that on the desktop. Basically what this is going to do is it's going to kind of batch process. It's going to run our video, turn it into a bunch of images, run the color map, etc., and run it through InstantNGP. So here's what we do once you have those three things. Go to command prompt, and what I want you to do is I want you to take these two things, your script file and your video, and put them in a folder. So I'm going to call mine NeRF folder. I know, I'm winning awards here. Take both of these, put them in the folder. What I want you to do is, first of all, tell your command prompt, in other words, tell Python, to look into this folder. So I'm just going to right-click, copy address. So cd, change directory to this address. So really all I've done here is, if you don't know what any of this means, I've opened command prompt and I said, hey, command prompt, look inside this folder. Change directory to inside this folder. So you can see it changed from users, Thominator, to Thominator, desktop, NeRF folder. So now we're inside the folder. And now we are going to run this script. But we're not just going to run it. I'm going to run it with a custom command. And this is something you can just copy and paste. So I'll put this in the description. What we're going to say is we're going to say Python, go to this file right here. So make sure you have InstantNGP installed, obviously. This is a tutorial about making data sets for NVIDIA's InstantNGP, so I assume you have that installed. You want to go to this directory, which is going to be slightly different for you. So where you have InstantNGP, go to scripts, and inside of here you can right-click, copy address, and then paste that here. So for me, it's users, Thominator, desktop, InstantNGP, scripts, callmap to NeRF, py, Python. For you, this starting might be a bit different depending on where you have InstantNGP. Next, we say feed in the video, and then the name of the video. So in my case, this is called video.MOV, right? If the file was called something else like hallway, in this case it's an MOV file, make sure you update that here. So far, two things to edit. One, the file path of this command, and two, the name of the video. Next, the next thing we want to edit is the FPS. In other words, how many frames is it extracting per second? The rule of thumb is you want 50 to 150 images. So if you have a very short clip, you need to extract a lot of frames. If you have a very long clip, only extract a couple per second, right? So that we don't get way over 150. In this case, we have like a 6-second clip, so I'm going to really export like 10 frames per second. So that's going to be a lot. And then it's going to run call map. And then this number you can edit. I wouldn't play with this too much until you know what you're doing. Basically, this is kind of like how far is it looking out in terms of the crop of this NeRF. Don't worry about it. Basically, the smaller you make this, you can kind of refine it. But if you make it too small, you run into issues. So I'm just going to keep this at 16. Once you have all this, you can copy this entire command, which again is a bit different for you. And again, we're inside the change directory thing. You're going to type this in, hit enter. It's going to do a bunch of stuff. It's going to say, we're going to make a folder called images. Do you want this? Type in Y for yes. And what this is doing is it's extracting 10 frames per second of this video. So you can see here we have this. The next order of business is we have the images. We now need to run call map, which is basically a library. It's a program. What it does is it tells you where your cameras are positioned in space. And we use this to run... what do we use this for? We use this to run InstantNGP, so it already knows where the cameras are. Either way, so we have all this, and we want to say, are you going to use call map? Say yes. And now it's going to do a lot of calculation. But you see, in this folder, it's created a whole bunch of stuff. And really, the golden grail is once this is done processing, and it is going to take a while to process, you're going to see two things. You're going to see this image folder here, and you're going to see something called transform.json, that thing I was talking about before. Once you have both of these, we're going to put them in a folder, and that is the data set for the thing. But do expect this to take a while, so I'm just going to speed forward or skip to when it's done. Okay, so it's finished. When it's done, you're going to see that it's going back to your folder directory. You can close this down, and again, the important thing is when this is done, you're going to get a transforms dot, not JSON, but JSON file. What you're going to do is you're going to make a folder, and what you're going to do is I'm going to call it data, you can call it whatever. Make sure your images and your transforms are in here. So this is saying here are the list of images, and here are where those cameras are oriented. That's the transforms. And this is the data model that you're trained with, or you're going to train InstantNGP with. So now when I open InstantNGP, if I can muster a double click, what we're going to do is I'm going to try to find the thing. Here we go. You're going to go to data, you're going to drop this in, and it's going to start compiling. Now remember, for me, I took this video of a hallway, so we just want to make sure that this is what it's creating. And while it is taking, you know, a sweet while to do this, you can definitely tell, oh, here's the hallway. In fact, I'm not going to go too much into InstantNGP here, but one thing you can do is in the debug visualization, turn on visualize cameras, and this is exactly the camera path I used to walk through here. Right? Isn't that cool? So this is literally the cameras I calculated. And what you can do is you can make a little animation to make a perfectly stable flight path. Either way, that is the tutorial. Make your data sets and cool. Oh, by the way, I have a Patreon. Check it out.